Hello everybody, welcome to this PC Computer Guy Tech Talk. My name is Nick Ellis, the PC Computer Guy, 317-883-7224 in Indianapolis, or you can find me on the web, www.pccomputerguy.com, for this tech tip and many others that are out there on the site, podcasts, articles, etc. So today I'm going to be talking about how to spot fraudulent fake emails and how to try to reduce the amount of viruses that people get on their computers. An antivirus can only go so far, but some of these things are scams that just trick you into doing things that you probably shouldn't be doing. It's essentially the modern day incarnation of the older phone scams that would happen, where somebody would call you and pretend to be from the Social Security Administration and tell you that you had a problem with your Social Security records and they needed to get your information in order to verify that everything was good to go. Well, the scams that go on today are essentially the internet version of those scams, or different variants of it. The reason that I'm explaining that is because there's no way to give you the exact rules of what you should and should not do in every situation. Because the scammers are people that try to exploit people's fears and trick them into doing things, the problem becomes them constantly updating their tactics in order to get people to do what they want them to do. Almost always when people load or get viruses on their computer, it's because they loaded them one way or another. You may not notice that you have loaded it, but you did. Viruses very, very rarely spread from computer A to computer B automatically by themselves without having some human interaction that's clicking on something that's causing them to load a virus on their computer. So a lot of it is done with sleight of hand, making you think that you're loading something that you're really not. So I'm going to show you some of the ways that this happens. So in showing you this, because there are no set of rules, all I can do is show you a large number of examples. And then hopefully that you kind of just catch on to all these different examples and see what to look for yourself. We will start with this one. I've been saving these in the scams folder that I have here for quite a while to just kind of show you guys all of the stuff and how it happens. Right here I have a thing that claims to be UPS packing information available, or available for pickup. And it could have been true because I constantly have things sent to me from UPS. So how do I know that this is fake? Well, first clue is it's not from a UPS email address. Now the email address is a little difficult to explain, but I will give it a try here. Email addresses or domains. We should talk about domains. A domain is such as pccomputerguy.com. This is a domain. My email address might be nick@pccomputerguy.com. Okay, and I can have a large number of variants. I can have Nick, I could have Jewel, I could have Tom at pccomputerguy.com. The domain is pccomputerguy.com. If there is a dot that precedes the pccomputerguy.com, such as indiana.pccomputerguy.com, that's perfectly valid. That this part right here is called a subdomain of the PC Computer Guy domain. If so I can have california.pccomputerguy.com, and that's perfectly valid. Those are all PC Computer Guy domains, and therefore I can also have nick@california.pccomputerguy.com. The case doesn't matter whether it's uppercase or lowercase. So this is also a perfectly valid PC Computer Guy address from Nick with the California subdomain of PC Computer Guy. What is not valid is nick@californiapccomputerguy.com. This is a different domain. The domain for this is californiapccomputerguy.com. So this is an entirely separate, different domain than any of these are. These all belong to the PC Computer Guy domain, as does this one, as does this, as does this. This guy is an entirely separate domain because there's no dot right here. Because there's no dot, that means this is not a subdomain, this is a full domain. If there was a dot here, then it would be a subdomain California of PC Computer Guy. But since there's no dot, this is a full independent domain. So the way people get tricked a lot, for example, would be if you get a message and it says from paypalus.com. You get an email from that. Well, that's not PayPal, and that's not the US PayPal. If it was, for example, truly PayPal, it would be us.paypal.com. that means that it's PayPal and there's a subdomain US. Now, I don't know if this actually exists for PayPal or not, but I just want to make this point. People get tricked because they'll see something like this that actually isn't PayPal and think that it is PayPal. So that's why it's important first for you to realize the difference between a domain, a subdomain, which is perfectly fine, and then something that is neither or a completely independent domain. Okay, so this one right here is not from ups.com or any subdomain such as indiana.ups.com. So that's the first tip. Second tip is this has a zip file in here. Most of the time companies won't send a zip file to you because a zip file, what it is a file that can contain one or more files inside of it that are compressed, but you can't really see them directly or get to them. Now sometimes zip files are sent, but a lot of times not, because viruses can be hidden inside of those things. So you have to be cautious when it's a zip file. So those are the couple things here that tell me that this is not a true email. So this one I'm going to discard or put in my scam folders for you guys. Another example here is from DHL. This one is a little bit more cleverly developed, but still has a lot of problems. One, notice all of these things that are supposed to be links up here. I can't click on them. That's a sign. If I can click on it, you see how the cursor turns into a finger right here. So I can click on this and go to dhl.com. But I can't click on any of these things. That's a sign that it's not professionally done by DHL, because they wouldn't make mistakes like that. Another sign is in the message itself. I actually might be getting something from New York, which incidentally, let me talk about that for a second. Spammers or people that are trying to trick you into doing things will send you emails based off of probabilities. So most mail, I don't know this for sure, but probably comes from New York or California. So since this is going to come from New York or since most mail comes from New York or California, and if they send this out to 1 million different people, odds are that at least 10,000 of them will be waiting for something from New York. So that's how spammers try to, they're more sophisticated today and try to trick people. So it's a constant game of cat and mouse. They get better, so we have to get better at at spotting these things out. Another piece of information down here is you see how there's missing apostrophes here? This is bad formatting. Again, DHL is probably not going to have poorly formatted emails. So all of these are clues that this is incorrect. If there's misspellings as well, that's another important clue. Now, the people up here took a little bit more time. Remember the whole thing that I was talking about with this one being at ups.com? Well, this one says reports at dhl.com. So this one is a little bit trickier. You can make this email address show anything that you want. Unfortunately, when the internet was developed initially, there wasn't a lot of security and encryption and scamming and all of this stuff in place. So this is kind of a flaw that exists in modern mail systems. So you can make this show anything you want at any time. The first email, they were just too lazy to do that. The second email, they actually took the time to do that. However, because of these mistakes, I'm pretty sure that it's probably not actually from DHL. And we can see this information. In every message, there is header information. Usually it's hidden so that you can't see it, but just about always you can find it if you want to. It's different for every mail system, so I can only show you on this. This is Outlook 2010, 2007, and probably 2013 are all the same for Outlook, but if you're not using one of those versions of Outlook, you're going to have to find how to find this header information yourself. There's just too many different ways. So for Outlook, I'm going to double click on the message, and then if I select File and Properties here, you see right here, Internet Headers. This is the header information. This is the stuff that's normally headed, or hidden, sorry, not headed. So here's the fake thing right here, the return path. This means that if I reply to it, it'll go to reports at dhl.com. But that doesn't mean that that's where it came from necessarily. If I scroll down through all of this stuff, you don't have to know what all of this stuff means. I don't know what all of this stuff means. But we just kind of skim it here and look for different pieces of information in this. And here's what things that you can look for. A server called an Apache server received this message from this other server. So it was received by server B from server A, and this server right here, if you look at it, it doesn't look like a properly formatted, easily readable server email address or server address. It's not like IBM.com or something like that. This, again, is that subdomain that I was talking about, and this is the actual domain. What this looks like is some randomly generated domain name that spammers set up to send out email before it gets shut down. So that's a big clue right there, is this crazy looking thing right here. Also, when a website ends in a dot and then 2 letters, that means that it's coming from a different country. So I don't know what TR is, but like .ru would be Russia, .uk would be the United Kingdom. So this came from some other country somewhere. So why would DHL, which probably is based in the United States, send me a message that comes through a server that's .tr? That's a pretty big clue right there. And then if we go down a little bit further, you see it says the original envelope is from, and here's the key. It was originally from this person's email address. It was a Gmail address. So this message that we're looking at, this DHL thing that we're hashing out, came from this Gmail address. That's originally where it came from. So it came from here, filtered through this server, ended up in my mailbox, but because I'm not going to fall for these kind of things, I was able to discern this stuff, and hopefully you will as well now. So this is the actual email address where the message came from. This right here is the reply to address, and it's masked, but now you can tell how to see the real information. Just simply go to File and Properties if you're using one of the versions of Outlook, and scroll down to get that information. Okay, so let's move on to the next one here. This guy right here. This one was actually a pretty good one. One of my domains is njls.com, and what they did is they looked up my domain information using a system called Whois. Just about any domain has publicly available information where you can find all of this stuff from. Actually, let me just pull it up for you here. If I do a Whois search here, and I put in ibm.com, it's going to return a whole bunch of information. Currently registered to, domain name, some phone numbers in here, who administers the website, their address where this is currently registered to, the actual mailing address. So there's a lot of information that's out there, right? This is if you own a domain. Well, somebody got my information and pretended to send me a thing saying that my domain was going to expire and that I needed to send them money to renew it. And all of this information was correct. So how did I know that this was fake? One, because my domain is not registered at securetran50998.com. That looks like a bogus email address to me. And when you go over these links, when you see, a lot of times, not always, but when you see the like CDNQM345PJ1, that's often a clue that random things like that are often a clue that something's up. Not always, but often. And then also, just because I know my domain and when it expires, I know that that's not when it expires. So all of these information tell me that this is a fraudulent email. So it was, this one was a really tricky one for me, and it might have fooled some other people, but now hopefully you'll have a little bit more information to prevent something like this. Also, here's a tip. Don't unsubscribe from these messages. From fraudulent emails or from companies that are not based in the US, if you unsubscribe from them, there's no rule, there's no law that they have to follow that says that they need to take you off of their messaging thing. Here it says this is CAN spam compliant. CAN spam is the law passed in the United States that says that companies have to honor your request to unsubscribe from things, and it's an attempt to respect email. But you can write anything you want at the bottom of this. And since this is not a legitimate thing, I guarantee you they don't go by the CAN spam, so this is a lie right here. Unfortunately, the FBI has a lot more things to do than to track these people down, and they just pop up like whack-a-mole, so there's just really not a good way for them to stop it all. And so you have to be aware of it. So if I unsubscribe to this, I'm essentially telling them that this is a valid email address that I do check. So if it's from Best Buy or IBM or Microsoft or something, then it's okay to unsubscribe from those things, reputable US retailers. But if it's something like this, don't unsubscribe to it. You're opening Pandora's box and you're going to make it worse. Another one right here. This guy from Experian. This is one of those examples of random probability. I actually do have, or had recently, an Experian subscription. So, this one right here looks like it could have actually been from Experian. However, I know that my Experian account was registered with a different email address and therefore should not be sent to this email address. So since I have it in here, I know that it's fraudulent. This one looks very authentic, looks very legitimate. There's a lot of stuff in here that looks like it's perfectly proper. However, most websites have you click on something to open your new alert instead of sending you something in an attachment. And again, we can verify that information because if I go to the properties of this message, first double click it, file, properties, and first here's the first thing. If we reply to this email, it's not going to go back to Experian. It's going to go to dnb.com. And if I scroll down a little bit here, we can get some other information, such as things like this that don't look like they belong there. Hey, look, it came from ChineseGamer.net. So I'm guessing ChineseGamer.net didn't send me an Experian credit report. So this is a perfect way to tell that this message is fraudulent. But you see how authentic this message looks. This is why it's hard for me I can't give you rules that say, oh, if it's an authentic email, you can respond to it, because they make them look authentic. And I can't say if you go over the link, then that's always going to tell you whether it's true or false, because this Experian Direct may be a proper link. But the fact that there's an attachment that's a zip file on here was a clue. And again, it could have a zip file and be legitimate, but not necessarily, much of the time it's not. So let's close this down and move on to the next one. Another one. Action is required. This message is designed for the recipients and only containing privileged information. Sounds very formal, right? A document has arrived that's for my renewal, and I actually have done things with document flow manager type systems before. Tells me that I owe a whole bunch of money, and so it's trying to, with a large sum of money, tell me that I need to do something. But once again, and Salesforce is actually a legitimate company. But there's an attachment here that is a zip file, so that's a possible red flag. And I'm sure if I pull up the properties here, once again, it actually returns to Secure Bank instead of Salesforce. So that's a sign. And let's scroll down a little bit through this stuff. And here's our .ru right here. So this message was received from the server in Russia. There, it is fake. So you see some of these can be legitimate looking, but ultimately you can't fake the header information very easily. So, all right, let's move on. Facebook. Everybody gets Facebook messages, right? So here's the thing. Facebook, your account has been blocked. You can reactivate your account anytime by signing in to Facebook using your previous login and email address and password. After that, you'll be able to use Facebook the same way as before. Regards, Facebook team. This is a perfect example of what's called phishing. People get their emails hijacked so that a bunch of messages are sent out that claim to be from them, but they're not. So, say Bill has his email address and Bill gets 20 messages back from friends saying, dude, did you send this? I didn't ask for any Viagra information. Well, Bill's email got hijacked. And a lot of times people think that they actually have a virus on their computer, when much of the time when it comes to email, you actually don't have a virus. What you did was you accidentally submitted your information to some bad guys right here. So this is pretending to be from Facebook and telling me to log in. Now, if I go to log in, what I'm doing is essentially giving my username and password to the bad people, who then take it and go into my Facebook account and do all kinds of bad things. This happens a lot, so pay attention to this one. Here's how you can tell that this is fake. One, look at the email address. They didn't even try to make it look like it came from Facebook. It's not facebook.com, so there's a big flag right there. Also, when you go over the link to sign in, notice the link that pops up. It says automobile shipping quotes.net/WordPress content/ blah, blah, blah. That's not Facebook. That's some other website. It should be facebook.com/login or something like that. So that's another sign that this is fraudulent. if we go over this, down at the, or you see the link here. And if you're doing this in the web browser, if you have like web mail such as Yahoo and you go to Internet Explorer or something to check your mail, the link will show up at the bottom of your screen most of the time. So mine's popping up here because I'm using Outlook, but if you're using webmail, it'll pop up on the bottom of your screen somewhere. Just be observant when you move over a link, and you'll see at the bottom where it's actually taking you. And again, we don't want to unsubscribe to this because since this isn't a real message to start off with, they're not going to honor the unsubscription request. So I know that this is becoming a little bit tedious, but this is really the only way to convey this very clearly for people to see, because you notice all the top ones had zip files or something attached to them, but this one was a different type of method that was trying to get information. Let us switch here for a second to a web-based fraud thing. So here's an example of one of a common thing that goes around. This is telling you that you need to update Adobe Flash Player. If you go to a certain website and it pops up an advertisement or something like this, it looks pretty much exactly like Adobe's website, but it is fake. It is a fraud. How can you tell that it's a fraud? Because it looks exactly like Adobe's website. And this is the insidiousness of all of these viruses and scams that go around, is that they look so authentic. And that's how, going way back to the beginning, you did do it, you just didn't realize you did it. You loaded the virus in your computer. This is how we can tell. At the top in the address bar, it doesn't say adobe.com. It says this server right here. This is a server. It says a bunch of numbers /Adobe instead of saying adobe.com/flashplayer or something. So the address up here is the tip that this is not the proper place to get the Adobe Flash Player from. And so if you load this, you've just loaded a virus in your computer. Another one that I actually tried to do the other day, I have some of these CPU graph things that show me everything that's going on my computer right here. And I went to go update this. And when I went to go update this, it took me to this site right here. And this is the newest version of the CPU monitoring thing that I use on my computer. And notice over here it says download. Well, if you click this, this is the wrong download. This is not downloading what you wanted to download. This is some other garbage. This is PDF Creator or something. I don't know what the hell this is, but this is not what we want. How do I know that this is not what we want? Well, the link at the bottom down here looks kind of suspicious, and this looks like an advertisement area over here. And in fact, when I go over this, it said ad choice. So this is an advertisement. This is not the actual thing that I want. If I scroll down here, here's the actual download links for the things that I want. So this happens a lot, where you go to download this, but this big download button is right here, so you think that this is the one that you want, but it's actually not, so you end up installing the wrong thing on your computer. These are the downloads that I want. And I noticed this. I actually clicked the download button, and it took me to here, and I was like, whoa, PDF Creator, what the hell? I don't want PDF Creator. 100% free downloads. When you see that, a lot of time that's kind of suspicious. Choose my operating system, Windows 7. If I go ahead and click this to start the download, then this little setup file, and when I click on this and I hit run, this Optimum installer, it's like, all right, what's going on here? This isn't quite going the way that I want it to. So Express install. You're less than 30 seconds away. Click accept to get installed. Optimum installer. Well, how? What? Optimum installer? I went to get some CPU update, some CPU graph monitoring. This Optimum installer, this is not what I want. So I'm just going to cancel out of here. You're going to quit. Yes, get me out of here. I don't want you. Go away. And so that's another example of something that's fraudulent. So you need to be careful if you're clicking this or this. I know it sucks that there's so much of this bad stuff out there on the internet, but that's just the way that it is, and so we just kind of have to deal with it. Going back to here, DocuSign, another one of these DocuSign things, looks very authentic and all of that good stuff. But in this example, it even shows the DocuSign up here, the DocuSign information here. It looks addressed like it normally would. But when I go over the link, notice it is no longer DocuSign. The domain is online.de, which is Germany. So this is something from Germany. It has nothing to do with DocuSign. So the link tells me that this is fake. Here's another example of it. So this is no good. Better Business Bureau. This one actually concerned me because of my business. I had a complaint against me, blah, blah, blah. I needed to take care of it. Otherwise, it could negatively affect my business, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. So this one was actually a little bit concerning. Says that, remember, here's the subdomain. So this is a well-formatted hidden email address, meaning that it says bbb.org, that's the Better Business Bureau, and it starts with New York dot. So if it was just newyorkbbb.org, I know that it was false, but it says newyork.bbb.org. Since it has those dots in there, the New York is a subdomain of the Better Business Bureau. They have branches all over the place, so this looks legitimate. However, again, the zip file is a clue, and if we open it up and we pull up the properties here, hey, look, there's that return path, secure bank again. And if we scroll down a little bit more, this came from Melissa at DocuSign.net, supposedly, but this says that it's the Better Business Bureau. Remember the last thing that we looked at, so I have a feeling that this is all from the same spammer. And it says here that it was received from cprod.com, so that doesn't look correct. And scroll down a little bit more here. So those are a couple clues that this is a fraudulent message. This one is probably one of the better ones because most of the stuff looks like they took the time to modify it and make it look as good as possible, except for the fact that this is from the Better Business Bureau, and in here it says that it came from DocuSign. So they kind of mix things up a little bit. So there's your clue on that one. Let's close this down. eFax. People get things from eFax quite a bit on a regular basis. So this looks like it's legitimate, but it is not. This is inbound.efax.com, so that looks properly formatted and all of this good stuff. But I don't have an eFax account. That's the first thing. So how am I receiving a fax from eFax when I don't have an eFax account? That's red flag number one. And again, we can pull up the properties and probably see some bogus information. Yeah, there we go. And let's go down a little bit more. This apex.com is interesting. So that's the main way that I know that this one is fraudulent. All right. I'm sure you guys are getting bored of this. I'm not sure that anybody made it as far through this video, but here's another one that says Facebook. Your Facebook wasn't linked properly. Notice it shows the link, facebook.com/home.php, but if I mouse over it, the pop-up tells me that it's really going to sattestcenter.com/templates, blah, blah, blah. That's what the whole purpose of the pop-up thing or the link showing at the bottom is, so that you can see where you're really going, not where this claims to take you. Because links can say anything you want them to say. They don't have to show that correct information. So that's that. I think that that's probably enough. I probably have shown the Southwest one before where it looks like I have a confirmation that I'm going somewhere, but I'm really not. And again, if I mouse over it, notice that it says mujoka.com, so this is fraudulent right here. So hopefully just with these examples right here, you know, I know it's kind of a long, maybe a little bit boring and tedious video, but this is really the only way that I can convey the information of so many different things to look for when you're receiving emails. It doesn't mean be paranoid of everything that you receive all the time, just showing you ways to be cautious and how to detect things that don't quite seem right. And if it doesn't quite seem right, then you should investigate it a little bit more. And if you're really not sure, if you get something from Southwest and you really can't tell, then go to Google and type in Southwest and give them a call. Or, you know, call DocuSign and ask them if they sent you something. Don't refer to the phone number that's listed in this thing, by the way, because it could be a fake phone number that is designed to set you up, where they actually have people that answer the phone that are part of the scam. So you need to make sure that you Google Southwest. You get the phone number from someplace independent of this website, and you contact them that way. Alrighty, well, thank you for making it through. Those of you that made it through this far in this PC Computer Guy Tech Tip video, there are a lot more tech tips, podcasts, articles, and everything on my website, www.pccomputerguy.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. I do remote access support for people that are not in the Indianapolis area. If you are in the Indianapolis area, once again, Nick Ellis, PC Computer Guy, www.pccomputerguy.com. Until next time, have a good day.